Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This week I have another really cute Christmas card to share with you. It's a little bit different to what I normally do. There's no cute characters in this, and this one is mostly die cuts. It was very quick to put together and it was a lot of fun trying something new. Just like last week, I'm using this colour scheme. There's just something about it, something super traditional that I really like about it, and I thought it would be fun to use again and see what I can come up with this time. To get started, I'm using some dark green cardstock and I'm going to be using some very old stamps from my Winter Fairy set. I'm going to be stamping them with embossing ink and using gold embossing powder for them. I'm using my quilted backdrop die. I just love that one so much. It's so beautiful. I'm also using my stitched rectangle die and I'm going to pop a big cream colored rectangle behind my brown quilted die cut and also using that for the floor. From the Ice Cream You Scream set, or maybe it's the cupcake set, I can't remember what that one was called. I'm using this cupcake topper, and I'm using the piece that kind of makes it look like the ice cream is melted. I've also cut some chocolate sprinkles with that sprinkle die. I'm using my stitched mug set for the first time. I've had these sets for a year and I have been dying to use them. So I'm using the mug. I've used the mug again to cut that wavy piece to make it look like it's spilling over the top, the stitched heart, and some marshmallows. I'm also using my skinny tag die because it is one of my favorites for sentiments. So I'm starting out with getting my gold embossing out of the way. I'm using a little Made with Love on my stitched heart. That is from the Valentine's Day How You Been add-on set from a long time ago. And I'm also stamping the Sentiment Season's Greetings on my skinny tag. And that is from Joy to All. So I'm using a really new set and a really old set. One of my favorite things when I have a new idea for a card is going through all of my sets and seeing how my old ones go really well with my new ones and how I can mix them up together and get totally new looks that way. So here I am doing the gold embossing with my cardstock. And as you can see, this cardstock is in two different shades. It's by Die Cuts with a View, and it's a double-sided cardstock that has different shades on both sides, which is really good. It kind of just mixes things up a little bit. I'm going to be stamping a bunch of these little branches with my embossing ink and then going over it with my gold embossing powder. I love this gold powder so much. I have taken it out of the packaging a long time ago, but I do believe that it's the Ranger embossing powder. It just doesn't let me down, this one. It just works really well. So here you can see that magical transition from the powder being textured to going all shiny and smooth. I just love watching those leaves go from like a dull look to super shiny and bright. For my mug, I wanted to add a little bit of texture, so I'm using my yellow gold starry watercolor pigment and just flicking a little bit over the top. Moving my marshmallows out of the way because I don't want to get it on them. This card was really fun in the sense that it was so many dies, and that's a little bit challenging because everything can look really flat. I mean, you can always add foam squares and add physical dimension like that, but the colors are just plain, so it was really fun going through my inks and my watercolor pigments and deciding what I could do to add dimension with color. So my little marshmallows are getting some tea dye rubbed on them. And I love this look. I feel like they already looked nice and toasty. But I also grabbed my little walnut stain Distress Oxide ink and just used the tiniest bit on these just to get those darker bits. After this, I then watered some of this down on my mat and sprinkled it over the top. Again, just adding more texture and more dimension to these cute little pieces. I feel like they look good enough to eat. I also flicked some of that distress ink over the cupcake icing that I'm going to be used as, I guess it's like a whipped cream on top of this coffee or hot chocolate, whatever you would choose for it to be. While that's all drying, I'm adding a little bit of texture to my background. I'm just using that same walnut stain and rubbing it just on the very edges of this card. It just seems to add like a little bit of shadow. It kind of frames it well. It's a very subtle detail, but I really like the way it looks. When that's done, I'm going to glue my quilted backdrop down onto my cream cardstock. And I know I've mentioned it before, but I do love that Lawn Fawn coordinate these things so well together. So this backdrop is going to fit perfectly on my stitch rectangle. And while I'm here, I'm going to be gluing down that dark brown cardstock. I guess this would be like a tabletop that the mug is sitting on. Now to assemble this adorable mug. So I'm going to be sticking down this bit first with the cream that's pouring over the sides. For this I had to use that die twice. It actually lined up fairly well. You can see where it's a bit of a sharp drip, if that makes any sense. It's not quite as smooth as the others, but I feel like it's one of those things that people won't notice if you don't point out. And then going to adhere these delicious blobs of cream on top. I just think that looks so yummy. And then while everything is still wet and I can still move things around a little, I'm going to be slipping in those marshmallows. And I swear with every detail, this just looks more amazing. It's been a really hot week here, but I could so see myself going for one of these drinks right now. I added some foam squares to the back of my little Made with Love for a tiny bit of dimension. And now that that's all dry, I'm going to stick it down to my card front. I did consider putting foam squares behind all of this, and it would work. I think if I were to make a card like this again, I'd probably try that just to see how it looks. But I am adding dimension to other pieces of the card, so it's not going to feel too flat soon. I didn't put glue all the way down the bottom because I wanted to add some of these little branches in behind there. I'm not sure what these would be, maybe holly leaves, maybe some festive plant sprigs. But I'm adding it around the base of the mug to fill in the gaps. And I'm going to pop a little bit behind the cream too, just to add some green at the top to tie everything together. Once all those little leaves are in, I then stuck the bottom of my mug down properly. And I'm going to add a few more marshmallows on the side, just because they're so cute. And I'm giving one of them a bit more dimension. For my sentiment, I'm adding some red twine, and I'm tying a sweet little bow, just to add some more red to this card front. Again, just tying everything together. I've stuck some foam squares on the back of this, so this will also have a bit of dimension. Usually I do this a bit earlier, but I forgot today, so if you're going to make this card, make sure you stick this on before you go adding dimension to the front. I'm adding my double-sided tape to the back, very carefully trying not to smoosh my dimension on the front. I think I was just a little bit excited to see everything come together today. I removed the backing to my double-sided tape and prep this to stick on my card base. And usually at this point I would be finished, but I still had a couple more details to stick on. I added some little white details to my marshmallows and to the sides of the mug. Again, just for dimension, just for that pop of white. The only thing white in this card so far was the cream, so it's just another thing that ties things together. And for one last final detail, those little chocolate sprinkles, I nearly forgot them. I'm just going to scatter them all over the cream. And I feel like this detail was something that I couldn't miss. They really made it look so delicious and so complete. And there we have it. This card looks so good. I'm really impressed with it. It's not a typical style that I go for. I usually love my cutesy cartoony characters, so I was really glad to try something new. I think sticking to a colour scheme really helped with that. I'd love to know what you think in the comments. Did you enjoy watching me try something different? I hope you love this project. If you did, then please give this video a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.